I remember once Cissy wasn't available, and she wasn't going to be available. I think she may have been on her way to Japan and not coming back for a month. My record company was hounding me. You gotta do the record. You gotta finish the record. We're not gonna meet the Grammy deadline. We're not gonna meet this. We're not gonna do that. And I waited. I said, no, 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 no. What we have to record is my fantasy about how my music should be. And a main character in that fantasy is Cissy Houston. So we cannot do this. You can't do The Wizard of Oz without the Tin Man.
When I crossed over from gospel to pop music, I landed straight in the studio. I have done thousands of sessions, every kind of music you can name. The recording studio is really like a second home to me.
I started doing background work before Cissy did. John Huston, Cissy's husband, became our kind of manager. And he was the one that would get up in the morning and get on that bus with us or get us in the car and drive us into the studio. So Cissy played a very important part in that and allowing him to do that. Because we took him away for many, many long sessions at night.
And Dion had a previous engagement the night that they had a real big session for Ronnie and the Hawks, which is now called The Band, who is a great big, artist. My husband was hung up for a top voice singer, so I was the only thing around that, and he didn't want me to go because my baby was 3 weeks old. And so I said, it'll be all right. He said, well, you sure? I said, sure, we're fine.
I wrapped up in the blankets and put her in the car, and we went into New York. And we did the session. And when we first got there, Henry Glover didn't want to continue the session because Dion wasn't there. So I got him back in the control room, and I talked to him, and I told him to listen. Listen. And when Cissy started singing in the background, he changed his mind fast. And then he didn't want anybody else but Cissy back there. And that's how she started in the business.
They called me and asked me could I get together some voices for David Bowie. He had a song called Underground, which was really a gospel kind of song. We put together a little experiment. We took some professional voices like Shaka Khan, Luther Vandross, my son Gary, and myself. Then we mixed some singers from my church choir. It was kind of nice for me because the pop side and the gospel side of my life came together for a night.
She, in a session, is the one who comes up with the parts. And the producer has that blank look on his face. Oh, what should we do here? And then, of course, the singers have blank looks on their faces because they don't know what to do. She was always the one who said, well, let's try a little of this. She and I would always do that together really well. And bouncing off of each other, a great background part would come out of that exchange. It's the finesse and the accomplished way of singing and executing something that really is going to make the difference in what your record is and what your recording is. She's one of those proof of the pudding is in the eating type of singers. She doesn't rehearse loud at all. She doesn't rehearse full out at all when she's doing a session. She sings very quietly, very introvertedly. And then all of a sudden this romance with the microphone takes place. And the next thing you know, you have the magic that is her legend there on tape.